Finally tonight, the world's first food made from plastic waste, according to its developer, is vanilla ice cream. It's creating a heated debate about the future of food and plastic pollution.
We drift to the freezer aisle when the day feels heavy, fingertips fogging the glass while we scan rows of bright pints that promise slow-churned comfort and real vanilla bliss. The lids crack open with that satisfying snap, and a cool spoon slides into what seems like pure childhood. Yet 5 everyday brands carry quiet shortcuts. The labels skip: milk powder stretched with palm oil, gums that can leave your stomach puffed for hours, coloring made to survive deep-freeze truck rides, and so much added air that half the tub is gone before it even melts. The sweetness is real. The trade-offs hide in the fine print. We're about to name names, scoop by scoop, so your next dessert is an informed one. If you like your ice cream honest, not hollow, stick around for the full scoop. Number 1. Breyers. In most supermarkets, Breyers owns an entire eye-level row. Black cartons line up like piano keys, vanilla orchids on the lids, the hum of the case turning frost into nostalgia. You can spot the brand from halfway down the aisle, right where the cold nips your fingers. Shoppers lean in because Breyers still whispers all natural, a promise baked into childhood memories. Ingredient panels once read like a kitchen note: milk, cream, sugar, vanilla, and the price still sits comfortably between store-brand tubs and boutique gelato. It feels like the smart middle ground, richer than bargain ice milk, less pretentious than artisan pints. But the carton no longer tells the story people remember. Since 2013, many core flavors have swapped fresh cream for reconstituted skim milk and layered in gums to keep the scoop fluffy after months in deep freeze. Breyers now depends on Tara gum, cellulose gel, and mono and diglycerides to stabilize ice crystals while cutting dairy fat. Internal spec sheets peg overrun, the air whipped into the mix, around 100%, so half the volume you buy is flavored frost, not ice cream. Federal rules allow that as long as butterfat stays above 10%, letting the label quietly slide from ice cream to frozen dairy dessert on dozens of cartons. Because gums trap water, the company can slash pricey butterfat, yet keep cartons visually full, shaving pennies off each tub and padding margins you never taste. The tweak isn't unsafe, but it reshapes nutrition and satiety. Lower fat delivers fewer fat-soluble vitamins and less lingering fullness, so a family can polish off a carton before realizing they've mostly eaten sweetened air. Added gums draw water into the gut, sometimes leaving sensitive stomachs puffed or gassy. Long-term, choosing low-fat, high-gum desserts can even nudge blood sugar higher than an equal serving of full-fat ice cream, because the rapid melt floods the bloodstream with simple syrup before fullness signals catch up. It's like ordering a latte and getting half foam, half skim. The cup looks brimming, yet hunger returns before you leave the parking lot. Breyers sells nostalgia on a climate-controlled budget, stretching memory with stabilizers and air. If this brand lives in your freezer, flip the lid and read the first 3 ingredients. Flavors that still begin with cream carry more taste and fewer gums than those starting with milk or water. Better yet, grab a regional dairy pint made with 5 ingredients or fewer. You'll pay for flavor, not for air, and each spoonful will finish rich instead of watery. Number 2. Halo Top. Halo Top's pint looks sporty and reassuring, as if a fitness tracker could count its calories. Gold foil shines under freezer lights, boasting only 280 calories per pint. Shoppers see a guilt-free promise: keep dessert on the menu without skipping tomorrow's workout. The price lands just above a budget tub, yet miles below boutique keto jars, so it feels like a smart compromise. The trade-off hides in chemistry. Replacing cream with milk protein concentrate shaves fat, but erases the body that carries vanilla or cocoa aromatics. To rebuild thickness, factories whip the mix with up to 90% overrun, almost twice the air of premium ice cream, then bind the bubbles with chicory root fiber and erythritol. Those additives cool the mouth, masking how little dairy remains, while giving the label permission to print a calorie count per pint lower than some granola bars. That fiber sweetener pair brings side effects. Erythritol resists digestion in the small intestine, so bacteria ferment it farther down, creating gas and sometimes cramping. Chicory fiber intensifies the process. A single pint can deliver 20 grams, equal to 5 bowls of lentils, but in a form that ferments faster. Many first-time eaters feel ballooned within an hour, confusing the discomfort with lactose intolerance when dairy fat was never the trigger. Protein concentrates add their own wrinkle. They start as skim milk powder stripped of lactose, then filtered for whey and casein. During high-heat spray drying, lysine, the amino acid that helps muscles recover, cross-links with sugar residues, forming compounds that the body can barely use. So the 20G protein claim overstates the nutritional payoff. Numbers stay high, bioavailability sags. Texture also pays a price over time. Erythritol crystallizes at freezer temperatures, turning a once smooth pint gritty after a week at home. Spoon strokes encounter sandy pockets that melt to syrup, leaving concentrated sweet patches. The experience resembles eating snow sprinkled with artificial sweetener. Sweet first, watery next, strangely drying in the finish. Imagine swapping whole strawberries for dehydrated chips, then trying to convince your palate nothing changed. That's the Halo Top equation, substituting air and additives for butterfat and trusting bold calorie graphics to close the sale. If the pint already lives in your freezer, treat it as flavored protein, not traditional ice cream. Give the tub 10 minutes on the counter so crystals dissolve, and cap intake at half a cup to dodge digestive backlash. When a true scoop craving hits, share a smaller serving of a full cream brand. A few honest calories often satisfy better than a pint engineered to disappear without guilt. Number 3. Bluebell across Texas highways, convenience stores stack Bluebell half-gallons like regional souvenirs, cartons painted with cow-dotted pastures, and the line, the Little Creamery in Brenham. Loyalty runs deep. Family gatherings time dessert around mint chocolate chip or southern blackberry cobbler, and the price stays modest enough to feel homespun rather than corporate. Behind that charm sits a single, sprawling plant outside Houston that ships millions of gallons to 17 states. When demand peaks, tanker trucks idle for an open bay, and production rolls 24 hours. Scale leaves thin safety margins, proved in 2015, when routine sampling found listeria on equipment parts. 10 people were hospitalized, 3 died, and every carton vanished from shelves for months. The updated plant now bristles with sensors and swab stations, yet the same centralized model still pushes vast volume through aging pipes. And while butterfat remains high, stabilizers such as guar and carrageenan now slip into several seasonal runs to guarantee shelf life during multi-state distribution. Those gums thicken texture but also lock in extra moisture, so ice crystals rebound faster after each household thaw and refreeze cycle. Distribution widens risk. Pints leave Brenham at 20 DGF, then sit on unrefrigerated docks between transfer trucks and store coolers during humid southern afternoons. Each brief thaw opens micro cracks in the ice lattice. When the carton refreezes, bacteria lodged in those fissures can survive pasteurization's earlier kill step, dormant but alive. State inspectors have logged trailer readings flirting with 10 DGF, a range listeria endures easily. Bluebell answers with test and hold protocols and non-stop environmental monitoring, but those measures trail the realities of a long, cold chain. A batch may clear internal labs, spend 4 days crossing Alabama, and still grow colonies if a store's walk-in cooler stalls for one morning. Customers assume dense texture equals extra safety, unaware that high butterfat can actually shelter microbes from temperature swings. Eating a scoop isn't gambling with fate. The absolute risk is low, but no dessert should require mental math about pathogen odds. If Bluebell nostalgia lives in your freezer, treat half-gallons like fresh meat. Check sell-by dates, skip cartons rhymed with frost, and bury them in the coldest back corner. Better yet, reserve the brand for special slices of birthday cake or weekend cones, and lean on smaller regional creameries for everyday cravings. Familiar cow graphics soothe the eye, yet true safety depends on a chain of cold links stretching farther than most Texans realize. Number 4, great value. Walmart. Great value. Tubs ride shotgun in almost every Walmart freezer, stacked 6 deep in flavors that mimic the national leaders: vanilla bean, cookies and cream, birthday cake explosion. The cardboard feels lighter than premium cartons, and the price undercuts the next shelf by a full $1, nudging budget-minded shoppers to toss 2 half-gallons into the cart without a pause. At first scoop, texture seems airy and agreeable. The product melts fast enough to please impatient kids, and the flavor, while simple, delivers the instant sugar hit people expect on movie night. A look past the sale tag shows why it stays so cheap. Instead of the standard 10% butterfat that earns legal ice cream status, many great value flavors hover right at the minimum and make up the difference with palm kernel oil and partially hydrogenated coconut. Those tropical fats cost a fraction of dairy cream and resist freezer burn, yet they carry more saturated fat gram for gram and leave a waxy film on the palate that a spoonful of toppings barely hides. To keep that artificial creaminess from separating, the base absorbs emulsifiers, polysorbate 80, mono and diglycerides, that bind water and oil into one uniform bite. Overrun is the other silent cost cutter. Factory mixers whip the formula until air accounts for roughly 120% of the original volume, meaning a third of every scoop is foam locked inside microscopic fat globules. The carton looks generous, yet real edible content shrinks to the weight of a pint in disguise. When the ice crystals begin to melt at home, the airy structure collapses quickly. What started as a smooth dome turns into a puddle threaded with gummy stabilizer within minutes, forcing hurried refreezes that create coarse ice shards on the next serving. Protein arrives mostly from dried whey permeate, essentially the byproduct left after cheesemakers extract valuable casein and fat. Spray drying that whey under high heat triggers Maillard browning, bonding lysine to sugar residues and making the listed grams of protein far less bioavailable than numbers imply. Vitamins A and D are sprayed back in so the nutrition facts panel meets federal minimums, but those fortifications degrade with each round of thaw and chill on the way from regional distribution centers to store coolers. Flavor boosters step in to mask the compromises. Vanillin synthesized from lignin replaces costly Madagascar vanilla. Chocolate notes lean on alkalized cocoa sweetened with high fructose corn syrup. A single 2/3 cup serving, Walmart's optimistic portion size, delivers over 20 grams of added sugar and 11 grams of saturated fat, more than some drive-through milkshakes. The quick melt spikes blood glucose faster than denser premium pints, often sending snackers back for second scoops before the first has metabolized. Think of it as styrofoam wearing a dairy costume, light, inexpensive, shaped like the real thing, but never meant to satisfy for long. The savings show up at checkout, then vanish in empty calorie seconds once the carton thaws. If great value already lives in your freezer, treat it as an occasional filler, not the star of dessert. Serve smaller portions over fresh fruit or drizzle with espresso to slow the melt and temper the sugar rush. When you crave a spoon straight from the tub experience, consider paying the extra $1 for a regional creamery brand that lists cream first and keeps overrun low. The carton may weigh more, but so will your satisfaction. Number 5. Ben & Jerry's cartoon cows wearing sunglasses beam from pint lids, and flavor names read like inside jokes: Chunky Monkey, Fish Food, Netflix, and Chill. The brand stands for activism as much as dessert. Fair trade badges, non-GMO claims, and rainbow banners printed right on the seal. The pint feels premium, the mission feels righteous, and the price confirms you're buying more than ice cream. What the carton doesn't broadcast is that each half-cup serving packs more sugar than a glazed donut, and Ben & Jerry's defines that serving as barely 2 spoonfuls. Most pints tip 38 to 42 grams of added sugar plus 20 grams of fat, turning a harmless movie snack into the caloric twin of a double cheeseburger. Because the mix-ins are coated in glucose syrup before freezing, the sugar hits the bloodstream faster than ordinary ice cream. Ingredient lists stretch long despite the hippie vibe. Stabilizers such as carrageenan, guar, and mono and diglycerides hold brownies in suspension and prevent the marshmallow swirl from bleeding into the base during cross-country shipping. Those gums are generally safe, yet carrageenan has shown gut irritation potential in animal studies at high doses, an awkward footnote to a brand that markets digestive kindness. Independent lab tests ordered by food safety groups in 2017 detected trace glyphosate, the active herbicide in Roundup, in several flavors, likely carried over from conventional sugar and wheat used in cookie pieces. Levels fell far below legal limits, but the discovery clashed with the company's image of planetary stewardship and forced a quiet reformulation pledge. Overrun stays low, so the pint feels dense, yet that density traps heat. Leave the carton out for 4 minutes, and the high sugar base relaxes into syrup that seeps through cookie seams. Refreezing after an indulgent half pint leaves icy shards around every fudge ribbon, a texture glitch the brand masks with even more stabilizer. Calories aside, each pint also hauls an outsized footprint. Mix-ins arrive pre-baked from Illinois, almonds ship from California, cocoa travels from the Dominican Republic, and everything converges in Vermont only to be trucked back out to 49 states. One serving carries more freight miles than some weekday lunches, a paradox beneath the brand's Save the Planet lid art. Carbon offsets on the website can't erase diesel fumes in the real cold chain. Think of it as a protest rally financed by candy bars, righteous slogans in front, corn syrup confetti in the back. The message still inspires, but the mechanics undermine the manifesto. If Ben & Jerry's calls spells your name, treat the pint like dessert for two, not a solo mission. Scoop into small bowls so colder portions melt slower and rotate in a simpler vanilla from a local creamery now and then. Your palate and the planet of your gut microbes will appreciate the occasional day off from brownie batter politics. Number 6. Häagen-Dazs. The name sounds European, but the brand was born in the Bronx and is now churned by a Midwest factory owned by Nestlé. Fancy umlauts, parchment-style labels, and gold lids set the tub apart from bargain cartons, telling shoppers this is real ice cream for grown-ups. At 16% butterfat, the scoop feels rich enough to stand without toppings, and the two-ingredient claim on classic vanilla, cream, and sugar strengthens its purity halo. That richness hides a nutritional spike few people factor. 1/2 cup serving, again roughly 2 big spoonfuls, delivers 270 calories, 22 grams of sugar, and 11 grams of saturated fat. Finish half the pint and you've matched a fast food burger meal without noticing because dense texture slows melt and masks portion creep. High fat also carries flavor, so the tongue keeps hunting for that next creamy hit even as the stomach fills. To stabilize such a fat-heavy mix during 1,000-mile journeys, the plant adds mono and diglycerides plus gar gum in most swirled varieties. Those emulsifiers are GRAS-approved, yet they can disrupt the gut wall when eaten in high-fat matrices, nudging low-grade inflammation that feels like mild bloating an hour later. Vanilla and coffee flavors rely on global supply chains, beans from Madagascar, coffee extract from Brazil, then return to the US for blending. That back and forth adds weeks of storage time, so natural flavors are reinforced with flavor compounds, industry shorthand for lab-built esters that make vanilla smell fresh after a month in transit. In 2022, European regulators flagged trace ethylene oxide in some Häagen-Dazs vanilla lots, a fumigation byproduct of bean storage. The U.S. batches tested below recall thresholds, but the incident shows how even clean labels can inherit invisible chemicals when ingredients travel oceans and storage silos. Meanwhile, the brand's pint carton is lined with plastic to resist freezer burn. Recent studies found low levels of PFAS, forever chemicals, leaching from similar linings into fatty foods over long storage. Premium density carries another hidden cost: carbon intensity. A pint weighs almost 40% more than most competitors, meaning more diesel per case shipped. Nestle offsets part of that footprint with renewable power certificates, yet the cold chain still runs on refrigerated trucks idling at warehouse docks nationwide. Think of it as handcrafted luxury wrapped in logistics that behave like any mass-market product. Artisanal in the spoon, industrial behind the scenes. The indulgence is real, but so are the invisible extras riding shotgun with every scoop. If Häagen-Dazs is your comfort ritual, scoop into espresso cups, built-in portion control, and let the pint rest 5 minutes so flavor concentrates and you need less for satisfaction. Rotate in a lighter, locally produced brand for weekday treats. The umlauts can stay a special occasion accent rather than a nightly routine. When you crack open a tub, you taste far more than chocolate chips or vanilla beans. You're tasting the cost cuts that whip half the carton into air, the gums that pad watery skim into ice cream, the freight miles that let pathogens hitch a ride, and the sugar rush hidden beneath activist slogans. That doesn't mean dessert is the enemy. It means the real luxury is knowing which spoonful is worth the calories, chemicals, and carbon it carries. Pick the pint that starts with cream, not palm oil. The flavor that lists vanilla, not vanillin. The dairy that travels 100 miles, not 1,000. Every freezer case is a quiet vote for what ends up in tomorrow's recipe book. The more labels you read, the sweeter and safer your splurge becomes. Subscribe for weekly food investigations that turn fine print into power.